Hi, this is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video, my sister and I are going to be taking a look at the TWSBI Fountain Pens from our collection. We've got an extra fine, a medium, and a couple of stub nibs. Two of them are already inked up, and the other two, we'll dip them in some ink and do some writing samples. Okay, the first pen we're going to take a look at is the TWSBI VAC 700R in the iris finish. This is a new pen to me. It's got an extra fine nib, and this was given to me by someone who watches my channel, and they saw me at the St. Louis Pen Show and just gave this to me, and that was so generous. I was just blown away. TWSBIs are known for their just crystal clear material that they make their pens out of, and so it's such a pretty pen. It's got a lot of turquoise and purple in it. The cap band has a lot of yellow in it, and so I have it inked up with Iroshizuku Murasaki Shikibu, and with this extra fine nib, I'm going to be writing with this for a long time. I did a little smoothing on the nib, and the nibs on these are so pretty. I'll do a quick writing sample on some rhodia paper. Let's check out the reverse writing. I did a little smoothing on it in the regular direction and in the reverse. The reverse is a little bit finer and it writes really nice, but the regular writing is so fine that I don't think I'll ever need to reverse write, but if I do, it writes really nice. Do you want to try this? Or I'll let you try off camera and we can talk about it a little bit. Tell me what you think about an extra fine.
It's definitely finer than I like, but you know, it still is not as fine as, you know, like a sailor. It writes, for me, it feels more like a sailor medium. Yeah, or like that medium fine. It's kind of in between the, the reverse writing would probably be more like the Japanese fine nibs. See, that's right in my wheelhouse. That I don't like it too fine, but this kind of extra fine I like. I used to have a TWSBI Mini, and I had it at the pen show and I sold it. It was my only TWSBI that I had. It had the anodized section, and I just found it too slippery. Now this one has the plastic section. I really like it. This is much better. Have you had any problems with the aluminum sections? Do you find them to be slippery? No.
Do you have any with just like the flat section, or do both of yours have the like grooved sections?
They both have the grooved sections.
Okay. Yeah, that does help, but I still prefer plastic over. Aluminum is just slippery to me. Aluminum and anything that's chrome plated is just so slippery, it's pretty much unusable. Now other metals like brass and stuff, I don't have any problems with. Do you have any other metal pens?
No, not that I can think of, other than the little machine error.
What about, do you have a Kaweco that's metal? I gave you a plastic one.
Yeah. I have the machine washed in the Kaweco. There's a little bit of a texture to it, so it's not slippery
to you. I think even with that little bit of texture, it would probably,
I think just aluminum is a no-go for me, because I had that Kaveco Golden Espresso and it wasn't perfectly smooth. It had a little bit of texture to it maybe, but it was a little bit better than the TWSBI. The TWSBI was just super slippery to me, but I still ended up selling it. I prefer a plastic section, or brass is okay. I kind of like the feel of brass. All right, the next one, the rest of them are Gina's pens. So this is the TWSBI Mini with rose gold. Can you tell us anything about it?
That one was my very first TWSBI that I purchased, and I just loved the look of it. And it had a medium nib. That was before I had really
learned what you like.
Right.
I've never written with a TWSBI medium. Now, one thing I noticed, I kind of always shied away from the plastic TWSBI minis because I thought they would be too light. But this, I don't have my aluminum TWSBI mini to compare it to, but just from memory, this doesn't seem that much lighter. I really like this. It doesn't feel lightweight and cheap like some plastic pens do. This is nice. In fact, I don't know, that might be aluminum inside there, but it's got the plastic section. I really like that. Now, I notice, here's one thing I've been worried about with white pens.
I use the ancient copper, and it does, if I get any, yeah.
Now, will this wipe off, or does it stain it permanently?
You know, I was able to get part of it off, but yeah, it did stain it permanently.
You know, it doesn't really, it's kind of uniform. It doesn't look too bad because it's got the rose gold.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a medium nib. I like this. I like this medium. I had a fine in my TWSBI Mini. Now, it doesn't want to reverse right, but that's okay. I have this inked up. You said you usually use ancient copper.
Yes.
This is Monteverde Fire Opal that I just dipped it in. And you say this is still too fine for you?
And I use that one quite a bit at work.
So it's good for work.
Yes.
But just for your personal taste, you like...
Broad. Yeah, sorry.
I like this. It's a little bit wider than I remember my fine. Now, I remember being disappointed when I got the fine because I thought it was going to be like a Japanese fine. But TWSBIs are more like this extra fine is more like a Japanese fine nib, and this medium is more like, I don't know if that might be a Japanese, close to a Japanese broad. But I like, and you can see I have kind of small hands. I can write with the Mini unposted comfortably. But then, even with it posted, the balance is very nice. This is a pretty pen.
Yeah, I typically don't post my pens.
You don't post them either, so you've got smallish hands like me.
Yes.
I like that. Next, let's see.
That one's a 1.1 stub.
Yeah, this is a ALR also. It's got the rings or the ridges on the section, and this is, I don't know, is this just called, I think this was the first ALR that they came out with. And it's got the gray trim. Did they call it like a nickel gray, or I can't remember what the name of it was.
I can't remember what it is either.
But we'll see. We think this is inked up with, what did you say?
Diamine Oxford Blue.
Yeah, when you write with one of these stubs, these are fun. Let's see, it's a ALR and it's gray. 1.1 stub.
Yes.
See, I can't even fit it in the boxes, but it is very smooth. And you use this at work?
I use that at work.
Wow. Do y'all, what kind of paper are you writing on? Just copy paper?
Sometimes on copy paper, and then I take notebooks that I keep my notes in.
You're writing for yourself, not... Okay. Do you use this to fill out forms when you do have to fill out forms?
No, I normally will have a really fine nib,
okay.
like a little Sharpie.
So you're mainly taking notes for yourself.
Yes.
That makes more sense. This is another ALR. It's, what color is this?
Prussian blue.
I like that. Okay, and I just went and got a sample of Sailor Mano Yamagi and dipped it in there. We're still filming. So this one's also a ALR, and it's Prussian blue. These nibs are consistent. They both feel exactly the same. Prussian blue. And this is, yeah, this is fun to write with, but I would have to have a notebook with a wider ruling because I can't write. One line's okay, but then I can't squeeze in another line below it. But this is just buttery smooth. Yeah, those are nice. For some reason, I was thinking that you were using these stub nibs to fill out forms, and I was like, how do you do that? Number one, just how broad it is, and number two, on copy paper, but that makes more sense. You're just taking notes with these. And then, what do you use? Like, I know in the past you've used some of those Sharpie gel pens.
I use a little really fine nib. I get the finest nib on the Sharpie gel pens, and that's what I use to fill out paperwork.
Well, these are nice. I'm going to flip it around, and I had a few questions for you that I thought of when I was editing our last video. Okay, so in our last video, we were looking at almost all gold nibs. We had a couple of steel nibs in there with the sailors. And TWSBI's are all steel nibs. Do you have a preference between gold nibs and steel nibs? Do you find a difference in how they perform?
Just really the feel of them. I do like the steel nibs. I'm a big fan of TWSBI, and I use those quite a bit.
Something I noticed in this, now the minis have that smaller, skinnier nib, and my TWSBI mini had that small, skinnier nib, but this felt almost like it was softer. I don't know, like it felt soft. I liked it. Like I never noticed that with mine, and it may have just been because mine was a finer nib, but I liked the feel of that nib. And the stub nibs just feel buttery smooth, not glassy smooth. I don't like it when it's so glassy smooth that it feels like you're writing with a plastic stylus on a glass tablet. I don't like that feeling, but those were nice. Now, but you can tell a difference between the feel of like gold nibs.
Yes.
And
but I definitely, especially at work, I use a lot more of the steel nibs at work. So, and
part of that is it's just
not as expensive of a pen.
Yes.
Well, what about like the
700
VAC 700?
The VAC 700. This is a pen that I'd been looking at for a while, contemplating purchasing it. So it was pretty exciting when you got it.
Yeah. What do you think about it? Well, it's not that much bigger.
It's not that much bigger. The weight, it's a little bit heavier.
It is. And I'm not sure where the weight comes from. I know it's got the metal rod in there. But this has, you know, the aluminum mechanism in there. It's a noticeable weight difference. And I was expecting the only difference in height that's like,
just about the end of the cap.
yeah. But in the hand it feels so much bigger, and I guess it's because it's noticeably heavier. That kind of surprised me. And it's just enough bigger that some pen cases, like that Lockbee Quattro that they sent me, it's just barely too tall to fit in there. Now it fits in, I've got one of the long rickshaw pen sleeves. That's what I keep this in. But it's too tall to fit in like just the standard size. So, do you think you would want a VAC 700?
I'm considering it.
I just ordered one of those TWSBI ink bottles that works with the VAC 700. So I'm a little nervous about it though, because you pour your ink in that and you use that for your ink bottle, and you put this down in the ink bottle. It's got a seal. You turn it upside down and operate the mechanism. Yeah, I'm gonna do that over the sink.
Let me know how that goes.
You know, people say it works and you're able to get a nice full fill, and the reason I got it is because I have a lot of ink samples and I have a lot of small bottles. Like I filled this out of one of those little Iroshizuku bottles, and this is a pretty good sized nib, and
trying to
it's
get it in the
down
bottle
in there to submerge it. I got a pretty good feel, but I fiddled with it a few times and I got ink all over myself. So,
yeah, I get ink all over myself every time I fill it.
Because this one, I didn't have to get a full fill because there is so much ink in there. I didn't really need a full fill, but I tried to do that thing where you fill it up, then you pull the thing back again and you push it up to push all that extra air out, and then you put it down in the bottle, and you know, some will bubble out the nib, and I ended up getting it all over me. So I'm curious to see if this TWSBI ink bottle will help me be able to fill without making a mess, and how full I'm able to get it. Because I don't think I would even be able to fill that out of most ink samples.
No.
Whenever I had my TWSBI Mini, people on YouTube would give me a lot of grief because I don't usually stick my pen down in the ink to ink it up. I use a syringe, and I'll either fill up the converter or refill a cartridge, or on the TWSBIs, I would take the nib off and just squirt it down in there.
Really?
And they're like, that pen is designed specifically to, you're not even using it the way it was designed to be used. And I'm like, I think that's just what I do. And then I just dip it in the ink to get it going. I just don't like getting the section down in the ink. And especially,
and like that one, you can tell.
because it's got with the white, yeah. And especially a pen that has these little trim rings, like ink getting in the crooks, it's so hard to get it out.
Yeah.
I'm impressed by this one.
It's a beautiful pen.
I liked the way that nib felt on the paper. I'm needing to chill out though on, that's the danger, and I just remembered something I want to ask you, but that's the danger of trying other people's pens, then you want to get those pens,
right.
You see that you like them. But the whole concept of, you know, being perfectly happy with the pens you have, and then you see or hear about something new and you're like, then that's all you can think about. Does that ever happen to you?
Yes, but I've been doing really good about not going out and purchasing more pens.
But I did good leading up to the pen show, because I was like, hey, I'm going to the pen show. I'm wanting to get rid of some pens. But since the pen show, I did buy another pen.
Really? What pen did you get?
It just came in the mail today. I bought a used Parker Premier, one of the newer versions. I'll do a video on it coming up here. But I cleaned it out and I dipped it in some ink and wrote with it. It is super smooth, but it's a medium nib and it writes kind of like a broad, like a Pilot broad, maybe even broader than that, but it is super smooth. It feels like a Pilot medium or broad nib. But I just test wrote with some black ink, so I'm eager to try it with some pretty ink. It's all black, like the pen is all black, the nib is black, 18 karat nib. I got a good deal on it. So, I wanted to tell you my story of being perfectly content with pens. That new Sailor Pro Gear, the 21 karat medium fine nib, right now, that is my favorite pen to write with. I just love the pen and ink pair I have in that. I love writing with it. I'm enjoying it. It has surpassed my Pilot pens. Right now, you know, I go back and forth. Right now, it's my favorite pen. Perfectly happy, and then someone in the comments said, oh, I've been writing with a Sailor King of pen that I got a good deal on Amazon. I got it half of what the list price is, less than half. So of course, then I go look at Amazon, and like, that's all I could think about was the Sailor King of pen. I started watching videos, people talking about how awesome the nib is. And I had just written with your broad nib, and I was like, oh man, if I could get a medium or a broad, that would be so awesome. I had it. My husband was saying, go ahead and get it. I'm like, I don't need to buy this. I was perfectly happy with my pens. And I hung in there. I did not get it. And I'm glad I didn't. But I did buy that Parker Premier. Like I said, I got a really good deal on that. But yeah, I just have to stay off of.
Yeah, you can't be looking at pens, or it's gonna get you in the mood to buy one.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it had been a while since I'd written with one of my TWSBIs, and I inked one up and I've been taking it to work, but I'd really been using my Pilot Vanishing Point. That's the one that I...
For work. You've been using that at work. Yeah. And you've got a stub nib on that, don't you? A Pilot stub nib. I kind of like that.
I love that pen.
But it's not as wide as this.
It's not. Now that one I can actually use to
do paperwork and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a stub nib that I could, like, these are fun and all, but they're too big for me to write with. Like, I have to write bigger than I normally write. But like you say, with that Pilot, the gold stub nib from the Vanishing Point, I could write with that. If I ever get another Vanishing Point, like if I ever get one of those decimals, I'm gonna get the stub nib.
We probably need to do a video of our Pilots.
Do a Pilot. Hey, do you have a bunch? I don't have as many as I did. I could talk about which ones I sold.
And you know, I've got because I got a lot of Pilot Praras and
Metropolitans.
The Metropolitans when I first started getting pens, because I just loved the way they wrote.
Did you get a bunch of different colors?
Yes. That's when, you know, I realized I liked like
stub
nibs.
Was the first stub nib you ever had that Prera that I gave you?
Yes.
Is that when you were like, I like this?
Yeah.
See, it was too wide for me, and Pilot stubs are a little bit finer. The steel ones are a little bit finer than like these, aren't they? Are they about the same? It's noticeably finer.
Yes.
And then the vanishing point is even finer than that. Is the vanishing point finer than the Prera stub nibs?
I'm gonna have to go back and I have to
we'll
go
be
back.
able to check
We'll be
and
able to
see.
check and see.
Okay, so that's what we'll do next time. We'll do Pilot. Should we split this
We
up
need to
into steel? Do steel nibs one time?
Yeah,
and then
because
do gold
I
nibs
have quite a
another
few.
Okay, we'll do
Pilots.
that. I got rid of a lot of my steel Pilots. Those were a hot item at the pen show. Okay, we'll cut that off for now. Next time we will do either the gold or the steel. It'll probably be Pilot, one of those. All right, if you found this video interesting, please give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.